Hello viewers and welcome to the eSeniors GT3 Championship of the Group 1 races being held at Zolder. Well, it's been an exciting week, not only for the racing, but for people getting used to the model of the car. There's been 4 different updates for Assetto Corsa Competizione in the last 2 days. So does that indicate problems? Possibly. Does the racing mean it's going to go ahead? Well, we have had a problem this week with a lack of connection, but I think now they may have stabilised, and the hot fixes they've provided is to allow us to race and race online. So here's hoping. Obviously everyone will have had the update and they can race on track, and we've currently got 21 drivers who are going to battle it out at Zolder. Let's have a quick look at the table. So as we know, in relation to the table, Peter Wolfslener is absolutely smashing it at the moment. He's 40 odd points ahead of Carlo Van Brabant, who's in second place, and Andrea Chiola, who's in third place. We've then got Chris Bourne on 441 points in fourth place, followed with a big gap between himself and John Saunders on 368. John Saunders and Lars, there is only 1 point between them, 368 and 367 respectively. And then we get down to David Gerrard in the Aston Martin, and David Noble in the Aston Martin, and Nelson Abramhoser in the Aston Martin. So very good showing for the Aston Martins. It's also a privilege to obviously see that Peter, Carlo are racing, and Nelson are racing today. They've all taken place in the last 24 hours in a 24-hour endurance race. So these guys have got some courage to not only race for 24 hours, but to come back and race within, the eSeniors group. So that takes some serious dedication. I just want to invite along Don Queen, who's joined me in the booth today. So not only have got my dulcet tones, you've got Don. So say hi, Don.
Hey, everybody. Glad to be here. Glad y'all putting up with me.
And what we'll do is we'll jump across to qualifying. I'll pick someone to drive with. I'll jump on board with Pete Wolfslener as he goes through the lap, and then I'll give you a very, very brief lap guide. I've done this for the last couple of obviously races. The corners are a challenge, shall we say? I wish I could speak the tongue of the corners. Unfortunately, I can't. So this is my interpretation. So if I insult anybody or any person, my apologies in advance. I'm still learning all the names on how to pronounce them. I'm getting a lot of assistance from some of the guys in Discord about how to pronounce certain names of individuals, and I think I've been calling people the wrong translation for a number of weeks. So you might see me calling people different names as the end of the season progresses. So we've got Peter coming in towards the end now. We're going through this little chicane, this soft chicane, and then he'll end up on the start-finish straight. So this is the soft chicane. Not really difficult at all, and off he goes on the start-finish straight. So he'll get his foot down, he'll drift the car to the right, and then he'll hang himself out on the right-hand side, then drift into the left, and that'll take him into corner 1, which is Erst. So corner 1, again, he'll drift to the left to take the right-hander, which is Sterren Varvik Bocht, and then that's corner 2, and that'll take him into corner 3, which is Canal Bocht. And again on corner 3, you can get lots of momentum ready for corner 4, which is Lucien Bianchi Bocht, which is where he's going now. Then it's fast to the right-hand side of the track, braking just after the 100 metres into the Klein chicane, which is corner 5. Now this chicane you can take really, really quick. You don't actually have to jump the curbs. If you hit the curbs, you can go off. So he's now coming over the hill, and he's going on to corner 6, which is Butt. And then he's coming into what is the Villeneuve chicane. This is known as corner 7, and it's Terlamen Bocht. And the 3 corners here, they're all classified as one individual corner. So it's like a long corner. He'll then get the car to drift to the left. He'll keep himself to the left for the corner coming up. And this corner is the most difficult one to pronounce, which is the Boulderberg Harspeld Bocht, corner 8.
Perfect. You said it perfect.
There you go. Then we go into the Jochen Rindbrocht, which is obviously based on a racing driver. And the mini chicane here is the Jackie X Bocht, again, named after another racing driver. Yep. And that takes us into the final corner, and Pete's just gone deep there onto the start-finish straight. So that is a very, very simple track guide of Zolder. Again, if I've got any corners wrong, my apologies in advance. So at the moment, we've got Pete doing a 1:29.6. We were talking about this in the Group 2 races yesterday. What do we feel is going to be a qualifying lap in this race? Come on, Don. Any ideas?
I see a 28 from somebody at the front, whether it be Peter or Andrea. trying to think. Carlo, I know Carlo was practicing in the server this week, but I can't remember if he was dipping that low. I know he was getting into the 29s.
Yeah, I think we were talking yesterday. I mean, the Group 2's got into the 129s. I think 5 it was. With
There you go, Chris Bourne, just 28.8.
There you go. Chris Bourne's just flew in there with a 28.8. Jonathan Wood with a 29.3. Andrea Keola with a 29.3. And then Peter Wolfslader with a 129.6. So I think it's going to be interesting to see, is anyone going to break the 128s? But to think these guys are a clear second faster of the Group 2 racers. And to be fair, Don, that's been consistent all season, hasn't it? The Group 2s, with the exception of yourself and a couple of the quicker drivers, tend to be second faster than the Group 3s, and the Group 1s seem to be a second faster than Group 2s, and that just mirrors, I think, how the groups have been split quite well.
Yep, very well.
Quick mention to the chat. Hi, Paul Moore. Man, the devil car is taking drivers' souls. Hi, Terry. Hi, Peter. So unlucky yesterday, Peter. I sat behind that BMW. Not going to say I was praying for a mistake, but you had that car well and truly nailed. And I thought, when I come into the pit, I come in at the same time as you. Obviously, I gained a bit of time on that pit stop as well. And I come out right behind you. But then, obviously, you did a pit lane speeding. And I think that really spoilt your race. Felt sorry for you, I really do. Because I thought you were in a really good position in that BMW. Hi, Frank. Hi, Lee. Hi, Lynn G. Not too sure I recognise that name. I think you've been on before and you may have given us your name. If you can just reiterate who that is. And of course, Mark Christopher, who I had quite a good battle with yesterday, shall we say. And I think I'm not going to repeat how he worded it to me, but I think there was a couple of moments where his trousers could have changed colour, I think, in his words. Because I
Take a bit of a seat.
Yeah, I think I spooked him a couple of times, shall we say, and it completely probably unnerved him a little bit. So, but it was nice to put pressure against Mark Christopher. Sorry, relating to that. Hi, Reese. You've had a fantastic race in the last 24 hours. Really pleasure and nice to see you in the chat. Obviously, it's a shame you're not on track, but I presume you're just absolutely worn out.
Yeah.
Hi, Laszlo. Great run yesterday from yourself. So quick. It was really nice to see what you did with that car. How you survived that takeoff and getting that Lexus to fly is beyond me, because I thought you were going straight into the barrier, but well done. Terry's just saying, what about me, Mark, getting taken out to lap 2? So, Terry, I was obviously behind and I gained from you going off. Initially, I didn't see the contact. I only saw the contact on the stream. From my perspective, obviously, I've got to be trying diplomatic here. I think you were on the outside. Oh, David Noble's just gone and hit the barrier there. I think from what I saw on the stream, you had gone on the outside and a car completely pushed you wide. You then went off track. So I think you were very hard done by there. We are going to be looking into, obviously, drivers who aren't competing for anything to see if we can change it a little bit, because it does seem a bit unfair that everyone's fast, we get that, but you suffered, unfortunately, at the hands of that. Craig, hi Craig. Again, you did a fantastic job, my friend. I think from your perspective, I can understand why you're not racing, but God, you've got some courage, you guys. 24 hours. Yeah. And not only that, Pete and Carlo are still going for it again. So I'm just going to switch to Peter, because Peter's done a 128.9 and he's half a second up. He's going for pole here.
This will do it. Yeah.
Is he going to pull it off? This will be 128.4, and that puts him 1/10 up on Carlo. A 128.5 point, a 128.527. Wow. Well,
so not only did they run a 24-hour endurance race, they showed up today and they're on the front row.
I know, so. It's ridiculous, isn't it? But then again, you could argue they've got used to the car and they've had a lot of practice. That's probably the wrong way, because different track.
And they were racing at Spa, and this is Zolder, so they were already in Belgium, so they didn't even need to get on a plane.
There you go. So yeah, it's just a walk, isn't it?
Nothing to it.
Right, I'll go on Lars, because Lars is slightly way quicker as well. So Lee saying, if math is correct, I think I am leading Group 2. Don't forget, though, there's 4 races you've got to throw away at the end of the season. And I think if you take the races to throw away out of the equation, Mr. Christopher's leading. And
that's going to make it really interesting when we start throwing out races at the end of the season, because you've got some people that are further down on the standings that are going to be throwing out zeros when other people are going to be throwing out 20s and 30s, and they're going to catch up really quick.
Well,
so it's going to make really interesting.
I mean, there's also a couple of things to consider. Anyone who's been looking at the tables recently, you'll notice a lot of grey cells at the beginning of the track. On the Group 2s, there's some green. But most of the other tracks, most of the races have got like a grey cell in front of them. So what we've done is to make it fair. If you didn't start racing till week 5, you can't throw none of the races prior to week 5 because that's unfair. If you weren't available to race or you weren't part of the group, you can't throw a race you weren't part of. So in essence, if they only race a 10-season race, they still have to throw 4 races from the 10 seasons.
So they get 6 points.
Otherwise, it makes it so unbalanced and unfair to those who've been there for the full 16 weeks. Because obviously they're going to have to throw 4 regardless. And you could have someone coming in from the 5th week, winning every single race, and say, I'm going to throw my first 4 races when they actually weren't available to compete. And they're going to win, hands down. So, you know, it's talking about trying to make it a little bit fairer. But the idea is as a decision, we'll look at the 4 lowest scores. And if them scores are a non-attendance, as in a 0, they'll be removed.
Yeah.
And obviously we'll take them out of the equation, and then the final standings will be determined by that. But all that will be made available prior to the last race, because at the end of the day, once you've got to the last race, you already know more or less where you're going to be. Yes, you might throw the last race, but ultimately you know where you're going to stand in there, don't you?
Yeah, a lot of people are going to be doing a lot of math equations on Excel spreadsheets and figuring out, well, if so-and-so finishes 10th, and I have to finish this, and if so-and-so finishes this, and I need to finish here, you know, to try and figure out where they need to be. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of quick math going on in people's heads.
That's it.
As they're circling Spa. So it's going to be interesting.
And I am getting asked for the spreadsheet from people, so they're saying can have the spreadsheet because they're actively seeing what they can and can't throw away. Or if so-and-so finishes 10th in this race and I finish 12th, I'm going to finish them above them because they're going to have to throw that race away. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's going to be some crazy stuff where you're going to have people that are going to go, you know, if I run this last race and I cause a 10-spot penalty, it could cost me the championship. I may be better off sitting it out and taking the 0 and throwing it out and not taking the chance of getting a penalty. So there's a lot of stuff going on. That's going to get really interesting.
That's it. So people really need to think about where they are in the championship and what they're prepared to throw, because ultimately the score at the moment is irrelevant. It's the score at the end of the championship when you've thrown your races that's really going to matter. So I've just focused on David Gerard's card there. Why am I focused on that? Because it's PWS cleaning equipment, preciouswashers.co.uk. They are our proud sponsors of ACC TV, and without their contribution, we won't be able to continue to provide this service. So a big shout out to PWS. I believe the owner of PWS, Darren Newton, got shown the stream from from yesterday, where they focused on PWS and give an acknowledgement to them. He was actually quite blown away about it. So the fact that we mention it, we're sticking to our guns, we're being very fair. These guys are the first sponsors we've come across and are doing us a massive contribution, so they deserve the shout out, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the positions are settled down a little bit now. No one seems to be going, actually, I'm just going to stick with Carlo, because Carlo seems to be in and out of time here, so Carlo's putting pressure.
We still have the 3 that have broken into the 128s, but that's it. Nobody else has joined them. Everybody else's 129s or higher.
Peter and Carlos running behind each other.
Hello, Kenneth. Welcome to the chat. So
yes,
I did say there's 3 guests, and Kenneth has joined us. Kenneth Lingham. Oh, so welcome to have you, Kenneth. So yeah,
yes, I will try in my Danish English.
Don't worry about it. It's fine. All welcome, and it adds to the stream. So a couple of cars just going off there, interestingly, in qualifying.
Yeah,
and we're with
John.
John.
Say that
just went off there.
That Peter and Carlo are used to the tires now. They have been running 24 hours on them, so they have an advantage today.
Yeah, they're saying what physics problems, aren't they? Rather than we've got physics problems.
Yeah.
Just with Jonathan Wood here in the BMW. Wow, he flung it over the curbs then and really was fighting with the car. So we know the BMW has been quick, but actually it seems to be struggling here now. Has the last update done something to the balance of performance on it and slowed it down?
I would not be surprised, because that car seems to be in a class unto itself currently.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I'm
on
sure
this
it's going to
track.
get hit with a BOP.
Yeah, it was far too advanced. I mean, you could see people going around, yesterday in the Group 2 race, and I think there was Michelle was in the BMW. I think Peter was in the BMW, and that
France
thing.
and
I think
and
Michelle was on it. On the straight, you couldn't catch it. On the straight, it just took off, and you could be in its slipstream. It didn't matter, and you just thought, you can't take this car on the straight line. So you just knew there was something fundamentally
that's supposed
wrong.
to be the disadvantage of the car. It's supposed to be slow in a straight line and really fast in the corners. I've heard it's supposed to be even slower than the Porsche, like at Paul Ricard on the backstretch.
Now, interestingly,
I can't remember who it was.
Jonathan Wood said he's took it on Kyalami, and he said
he
it's
said he
awful.
didn't like it.
It's awful at Kyalami. So interesting. The next round is where? Kyalami.
It's Kyalami, but ask Jeff Buckley how it runs at Kyalami. He'll probably give you a completely different answer because he was running pretty good on it at Kyalami just yesterday.
I think it's that driving style in it. I mean, Jonathan really pushes the car more than I would ever dream to push. We know Stefan is quite a reserved driver in the way his driving style, so he gets the maximum out of the car without putting the car under too much stress. Where a lot of the Group 1 drivers put a lot of the car under stress, and the slightest mistake, they pay the price. We make a mistake, we can recover the car. So I think there's. I think when you push the BMW, it's probably going to give you a lot more performance-wise. But the second you make a mistake, it takes a lot more off you than, say, the Aston or the Bentley does.
It's just so much easier, seems to drive, everybody's saying.
I can say for sure, but the Bentley here in this track is 1 second slower. When I run dry mate, because in the team's Constructors Championship on Thursday, I could run 29.2, but on Friday race, I could run 132 as the fastest. So it has been done something to the cars. Or it's just the tires, I can tell at the moment.
When they changed the tyre compound from 2019 to 2020, that had a hit on performance. And it looks like the new evolution of the tyres has also caused a similar hit. Yeah, but it's done it in a much more drastic fashion. So I didn't actually feel it because my fastest lap was a 1:31.9 previously on Zolder. So when I got into the 1:29s, I'm thinking, I don't know what all the fuss is about. I'm going quicker anyway.
The time that you found is obviously, I think, the time that I lost because I seem to have lost about a second to a second and a half at every track I've tried so far.
On the new tires?
Yeah.
Okay.
They take longer to warm up. They don't cool off as easily anymore. So one of the things I saw was you don't have to wait to the last possible moment to join the grid at the beginning of the race because your tires aren't going to be ice cold if you join too soon. So that's good. A little more consistency in it. But yeah, the pressure loss seemed like, especially at Zolder, every time I went out, I'd end up at a different pressure. So it was hard to try to dial them in because you weren't sure, did I just not put enough in to begin with, or was I hitting stuff and causing these to go down? So it takes a lot more guesswork into it.
That's the big battle, isn't it? It's learning that. I'm just going to go back to the chat a little bit. So I'm just catching up to where I was.
To answer Mark's question, the guys that are running the BMW are all taking a 40-point hit. Every time you change car, it's a 40-point hit.
It is.
To go from one car to another.
So Craig's just saying, Peter.
It's another 40 to change back. If you decide you don't like what you changed to and want to go back to your original car, then that's a total of an 80-point hit to go back to it.
That's correct. So Craig's just saying, Peter's not an alien, he's a machine. Now I'm sure there's a film with that phrasing. Was it Rocky? He's not a man, he's a machine. I think it was one of the Rocky ones. Yeah. Can we opt not to throw out any... Lee Ellis, can we opt not to throw any races? So Linji is not a player, just to say. Found this on YouTube and thought it was really nice and start following. That's really good. Thank you very much, Linji. Really, really appreciate that. Terry's agreeing, obviously, with me comments before about if you've not raced in the series early on, you can't take them races off because that's unfair on everyone else. Mark Crystal is just saying what it should be in relation to the number of rounds you can drop for and so on and so forth. I say that's still to be determined, but ultimately we're changing it. John Wilson's joined, and so's the grumpy old man himself. Hi, Melvin. Welcome to the stream. As usual, yes, you've arrived.
I vaguely remember somebody saying that they were going to have to join the season 4 races late. Like initially when the whole thing was announced, they had some sort of conflict and were going to have to come in 4 races late. So that was going to be their 4 throwaway races, was their first 4, which kind of put them on the back foot to start with. But hopefully that person will still be able to do that. I don't remember who it was though.
Doesn't really put them on the back foot though, does it? If you think about that. Because if
they get no mulligans, basically, you know.
Yeah, but if you've been in there, if you've raced the first 4 races, and you achieve maximum points, right? So let's assume Don, you've raced the first 4 races, and you've achieved maximum points. You've achieved 200 points. Yeah, you've won every single race. You've then got to the 5th week, right? That person isn't throwing any races away because they're getting a mulligan for the first 4 weeks. They then go on and win every single race and get first. You're stuffed.
Yeah, that's true.
You've been beaten. And why have you been beaten? Because you raced every race. That can't be right and it can't be fair. So, that's the reasoning behind it. Still might fine-tune it a little bit, but that's the principle. That's the way we're going to look at it. It only seems fair, the fact that if you've raced, and you've raced for the full season, you get to throw away 4 genuine races. If you haven't raced the full season at the start, obviously from that perspective, off we go. Right, back after this break. Sorry about that. Completely lost the stream. I've no reason why. So we're going to do the grid walk. And in pole, we've got Peter Wolfslater in the 196 Bentley, closely followed by Carlo Van Brabant, who's also in the Bentley, the number 3. We've then got Chris Bourne in his Lexus, the 118 Lexus, and Lars Eklund in the McLaren. Then got Andrea Caiola in the yellow 67 Aston Martin, and Jonathan Wood, who's decided to give the BMW a run. He knows he's not racing for the championship, so he's deliberately going to take this car. We've then got John Saunders in his usual blue liveried Ferrari, and then closely followed by David Gerrard in the PWS-sponsored Aston Martin. We've then got Nelson Abranhosa, who finished 3rd in the endurance race with his group in the Martini liveried number 33 Aston Martin. And then we've got Neil Bywater in the red and white Ferrari. We've then got the Sega liveried Aston Martin of Chris Baker, followed closely by the Marlboro liveried Aston Martin of Mersh Paunov. Then got the light blue Ferrari of Hugh Morris, and we've got the orange Ferrari of Tony Whitten. Mark Stevens. We've got the purpley blue Ferrari of Tony Whitten. My apologies there. And Derek Bird in the Porsche car 701. We've got Peter de Jong in the pink Porsche, and we've got Krista Tihort in the orange and black Ferrari. David Noble in the 9 Aston Martin. Eric Dont in the Lexus, and then towards the back Dimitri Stathis. The yellow Aston will opt out as the race progresses, as that's Jeremy. Okay, so that's the rundown of the grid. Quick back to the chat. Yeah,
I see Dimitri's made the change to the AMG from his normal Ferrari.
Who's that? Sorry.
Dimitri at the back of the pack is in the AMG today instead of his normal Ferrari.
Yeah, again, he's not. I don't think he's racing for the championship so much because I think he's missed a couple of races, so he's probably just testing a different car. So let's see where this is going to take us. Any predictions? I think if Pete gets out in front, he's not going to be caught.
Yeah.
But he only takes one incident. I think the first chicane, the Klein chicane, is where we'll get the trouble.
Yeah. it is because keeping the speed up there is crucial. You brake at the right point.
Okay.
Otherwise, all messed up.
Green light,
Yeah.
off we go. Is everyone going to get round? So far, so good. Everyone's behaving. No one's gone wide. No one's gone off track. There isn't any contact coming up. Great starts. No penalties. Oh, a bit of the Ferrari's getting a bit close there. Derek in the Porsche getting a bit close. But they've all managed to muscle their way through. There has been a couple of position changes. Neil Bywater's made a step forward. And there's the Porsche of Peter going off track. Needs to get that sorted. Otherwise, he's going to be waiting a little bit. And as I said, coming down to this chicane, first of all, this is where I'm expecting the potential of one or two running into the back of each other, purely because of getting the braking points wrong under cold tyres. And as you can see there, everyone seems to have made it over.
Looks like everybody's making it through clean, yeah. Doing a great job.
So far, so good on the first lap. And as you can see there, it's the typical run at the front. We've got Peter, Carlo, Chris and Lars all starting and all in position where they started. A couple more in the stream. We've got, hi Steve Howells, hi Stefan, and Nikos has entered the building. So I'm just going to keep an eye on Lars is putting pressure under Chris Bourne, but there's also pressure going on from behind in the Ferrari of Neil Bywater. So Neil is putting a lot of pressure on the PWS sponsored David Gerrard. So PWS are ACCTV sponsors, preciouswashers.co.uk. If you're in the market for some commercial or personal cleaning of your car, your property or so on, these guys have got the stuff for you. Visit the website to see what they offer. I'm going to jump forward because Andrea's putting pressure on Lars now, and Lars is putting pressure on Chris. So the new tyre model, obviously we've been talking about this quite a lot. You will not get the tyres up to temperature after one lap. I think we all know that now. So we'll start seeing these guys really starting to put pressure halfway through the second to the end of the second lap, because the tyres just do not get going until you've done probably 2 good laps. And as you cross the finish line on lap 2, your temperatures are probably where you need them to be. But as we know, this track kills your tyres. Absolutely kills your tyres. Your left front tyre is probably begging for mercy after a couple of laps.
What I noticed yesterday was if you keep in the right line of the racetrack, the car is pretty safe, although they are a little cold, but still it felt safe to drive there.
Yeah, as you can see here, Andrea's now putting a lot of pressure on Lars. So Andrea had a really good braking point there. I did notice yesterday, actually, I noticed with this, when I was behind Peter, the Aston seems to brake really well. I don't know if that's a trait of the new tyre model, but I noticed yesterday the braking of the Aston was fantastic. I could pull right up to the back of the BMW into the corners, and obviously out the corners it just dropped me. But I do think, is that Saunders going up the inside? No, he's just decided to back out. He's lost a bit of time there, Andrea, actually.
I did see there was a list of all the improvements that it made per car, and actually Mr. Danny Holt gave me a link to that. I put it in the Discord the other night. I believe the Aston was one of the cars that got an increase in brake tension. So,
interesting.
Yeah. So that Ferrari did as well too. I've noticed it, that the Ferrari's brakes are much better than they were before.
Right. So basically, my observation yesterday is in line with exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we've had a problem here.
Oh,
David Gerrard's off. He's lost a lot of places there.
Yeah.
Let's have a quick replay on that, and let's see where it's took us. So he's coming down here, just trying to work out where he's on the track. So that's him coming down to as he's gone through the chicane too quick, hasn't he? Or he's spun out. So has he ridden the curbs? This is the problem with riding the curbs. He's got him well. He's hit. Oh yeah, he's hit it.
There you go. Oh, spunner.
Oh, and he's at the barrier. He's at the barrier. I know Mark Christopher did that yesterday. In the same car, he managed to stop from hitting the wall. Unfortunately, we all can't do what Laszlo did, and that's take off and fly, because he got that well and truly nailed. It's the only person who get that nailed. Yeah, how he kept that car without hitting the barriers on either side is beyond me, but credit to him for doing it.
Got a really good look at his drive shaft while he was in the air.
And we've had another incident. What's gone on there? No. So this is Krista this time. So I don't know if it's not showing an incident. In fact, I've not seen one piece of contact yet. So Krista's come down. He's coming down the same place as it. And has he hit the curbs? Oh, he's gone in well there. So far, so good. No. Oh, he's just over-rotated onto the start-finish straight. Oh, and he's hit the barrier as well.
Oh. Oh, no.
So that could be a bit of a problem. So let's see how Krista goes. So he's now running towards the back. I'm going to jump forward to the BMW of Jonathan Wood. Now let's see how Jonathan goes in the BMW. There's been another off. Peter de Jong's gone off, but he's back on track again. So I presume he's just gone wide into a corner. So Nelson, they're very aggressive the way he took that corner. Absolutely flying. Obviously, Nelson's one of the guys. His team finished third in the endurance race. And, he's obviously raced with eSeniors and does enjoy racing with us. I speak to Nelson quite a lot. He messages me quite a lot. I have really good chats with him. And I was stunned when he said he was going to race, but fair dues to the guy. He's on track, with Peter and Carlo. So anything they can do, we can do also. What I was surprised with, talking about the endurance race, is obviously a lot of them endurance racers are a lot younger. And I think some of them are professional racers. I think Carlo said, or someone said.
Yeah, Carlo said
some of them are professional online racers and professional in real life racers.
Yeah, and to think the eSeniors did what they did is absolutely outstanding. Yeah, absolutely outstanding.
And it got us some really good promotion as well. The way they were talking about us during the broadcast. That these guys may be seniors, but they don't drive like seniors. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
it goes good.
They might not say that if I was on track, but certainly the likes of Peter, Carlo, Craig, and Reese are certainly very fast and representative of the quick guys. So David Gerrard's now, as you can see, he is putting a lot of pressure on Derek. So David's recovering, obviously, from his little bit of an off through the chicane, and that's the problem with these chicanes here. You just don't know as well whether that's damaged his car. We know he hit the barrier, and also as it caused a bit of a problem on the tyres. So we know this track's not only a tyre killer from wear, but actually it's very unforgiving in relation to low pressures. And I think everyone's been suffering more or less with low pressures on this track. Now, again, is that a trait of the new tyre model? Or are they now just making it, well, if you do that all the time, you will lose pressure. And they're now just putting the rules and making it a little bit further. Because I notice if you do it on the first 2 or 3 laps, you don't suffer. You only suffer when you're well into the race, halfway through a stint or something. That's when you start paying the price. So that must be something to do with the tyre, the new tyre model.
This is also an easy course to cut corners and pick up warnings and therefore drive-throughs as well too. And there's been at least one drive-through in each of the league races so far this weekend. So wouldn't be surprised to see 1 or 2 pop up here as well.
Yeah, I mean that's the sort of thing. It's the chicanes, isn't it? Steal the chicanes, and it really takes it off you. So there's been a bit of a change behind here. We've got a 3-car battle going on. So this is really interesting. So it first started by Mark Stevens, I think, passing Derek Bird. And we've now got, so I think Derek Bird passed Stevens and Stevens took it back again. But as you can see here, we've got a 3 to 4 car battle coming in. You can see now as well, David Gerrard's taking his time over the curbs. He's not pushing that car anymore. Just going to jump forward a little bit because Mersch is putting pressure on Hugh. So Hugh I think, is a Group 2 racer, but I don't believe he could race on Saturdays. And it wasn't right putting him in the Friday race because he was just too quick. To be fair, he always has a good race. So if he's not a Group 1 racer, he holds his own. And you can see there the difference in braking Merch had then. Just got him up the inside.
If Hugh's not a Group 1 racer, he imitates one very well.
He does. I'm convinced.
Real good job.
I think it's one of them where we need an identity parade just to make sure it's who he says he is. And Jonathan Wood's gone wide. Nelson's just took him. So Nelson is flying now in the Aston, and you can see there Jonathan Wood just got caught out a little bit. I think Jonathan Wood went a bit late into the corner and he lost it on the straight. But look how much time he's made in that one corner in the BMW alone. He's made so much time in that corner coming through. But we've still got the battle between Stevens, Bird and Gerrard going on. It's not changing much, but it's still a very, very close battle. You can see now, look how much Jonathan's gained.
Yeah,
he's absolutely flying.
Throwing an anchor out and he's pulling himself in there.
Nelson flying over the curbs, and yet Jonathan hasn't. And I'll see Jonathan gain now because you lose traction if you take off. Yeah, they're both trying to steal what they can on the curb. Right, that curb there, the right-hander, I noticed Nelson went very close. That's the tyre pressure killer, that curb. That one curb is the tyre pressure killer. So that's the one that's going to cause problems for drivers getting low pressure, low pressure. Now, there's a thing people saying, I've got a puncher, I've got a puncher. So that always surprised me. So you get low pressure and the pressure stabilises. That can't be a puncher. Because a puncher means the tyre.
No. I think it comes up as a actual message, like a text message in your information screen showing that you have a puncture in a particular tire.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so
I know you get lost pressure messages.
Yeah, but I think some people are treating the pressure loss as a puncher, because I think the pressure loss is you've hit the curb hard and a bit of air's escaped out the tyre because of the force with which you hit the curb. That to me isn't a puncher. That's using pressure. Now you can get the pressure up
that's just
by 1 or 2 ps, but by 1 or 2.2 psi. But yeah, ultimately you will lose more and more pressure, and your tyres will start suffering as a result of that. But I think getting a puncher on a running track, you'd have to do something really harsh, like spin onto the curb, because there's none of the curbs on here that will I don't believe should tear the tyres apart like that to cause a puncher.
You'd have to talk to Steph. I know he mentioned that he had a flat rear tire for the last 2 laps of Zolder, and he just nursed it home with a flat tire. So I don't know what his pressure was reading, but yeah, I would reach out to him and see what he says.
Okay, I'm just watching an incident here that happened between Peter and Krista. Although it's not mentioned contact with Krista, but it has mentioned contact with Peter. So Peter's gone to a drift. Oh, that must have been the contact.
That was very slight, though.
Very slight, yeah. But Peter's lucky there, as he's at the back. I don't think he was looking like he was going to take anybody out. Okay, let's see. So it's calmed down now. Let's just jump to the front, because we've got Peter.
Well, Chris has managed to come up to Carlo.
Yeah. Yeah, well spotted, Kenneth. So Chris is now putting pressure on Carlo. And as we know, Chris always seems to get faster and faster and faster as the race progresses. So it'll be interesting to see how that's doing. I'm going to change the delta to show the gap. So what I can do is, there you go. So you've got the first column, it's the gap. The second column is the delta on this lap, so you can see if they're actually going quicker or slower and how consistent they are. So let's go back to the chat a little bit.
Well, Derek Bell has gotten back by Mark Stevens and has started to pull away, and then got like a little 4-car battle going on right behind him.
And you can see there, David Gerrard looking really racing the Aston. He's looking to the dive. Yeah, you can see he's not riding the curbs at all now. He's realised that that's race costing. He's getting a good run on the Ferrari. Is he going to get enough up the inside? That's going to be close. Ooh. That was very close, very, very close. That's one of them where you're gripping your bottom cheeks, isn't it? Am I going to hit?
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Mr. Witten and Mr. Daunt have both joined the battle here.
They have indeed. They're within a second now.
Yep.
This is where the fun's going to be at, isn't it? I am keeping an eye on Chris Bourne as well. That gap's still 8 tenths in front, so I'm just keeping an eye on that.
Well, his racing line, Chris's racing line, is very aggressive at the moment to try to catch up. He was a little behind before.
Yeah.
But,
whoa! And Eric's off. Eric, big spin.
Oh no!
Yeah, as he come in there, I think he just clipped the curve and applied too much pressure.
Yep.
Luckily, he's got away with it. But David Gerrard's now passed Mark Stevens, so he's made the pass coming down the straight there. So I think we'll see David Gerrard now disappear and start catching Derek Bird. So Derek Bird's actually going quite quick now. He's running greens, so he's got the car settled, and he's now looking to plan his pit stops. So obviously the pit stops is one mandatory pit stop. It's 1 hour race. I can't tell you whether the pit stops have been completed properly. All I can show you is that the drivers have gone in and done what they feel is their pit stop. Now, what I found interesting yesterday with the pit stops is how many drivers did a stop and go for speeding in the pits. It was more or less everybody. And if you're using the limiter, you've really got to wait and put the limiter on straight away, and then not take it off till you're beyond that line. Otherwise, it'll, as you find out, you get the stop and go penalties. and that's soul destroying. You've just gone into the pits for your pit stop, and that's took you what 75, 80 seconds, and then you've got to go all the way through again and do exactly the same again.
Do it all over again.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's definitely lost racing.
There was one person disqualified from each race the last 2 days because they waited to clear their drive-through. And on this track, each track's different, obviously, but on this track, you pass the start-finish line before you get to your pit stalls. So if you wait till the last moment to go in and pit, you're actually waited too long, and you get disqualified on pit road as you're going to your pit stall to clear the flag.
That's not correct. The way it works, Danny Holtz yesterday who got disqualified, he stayed out on track. I think he knew. I think he knew he'd made it because he'd had a couple of drive-throughs and he just carried on, and then he got disqualified. So the second you enter the pits,
about Kevin Torrance on Friday? Because the same thing happened to him, and I think I didn't see, but from his reaction in the chat, I just assumed that he went down pit road, and when he passed start-finish line, that's when he got DQ'd, and he realized he waited one lap too late.
No, I mean, it tells you quite clearly you've got one lap to go. Yeah. Now, my understanding with the game, and don't forget we've just had an update, so it could be a bug, is the second you hit the pits, that classes as you're entering the pits, and therefore the lap you're on is in fact null and void, and you're carrying out your pit stop. So in that respect, I'd be very surprised if he's passed. You've got to think about it, Don. There could be a stall before the start and finish line. Now, if you're going in the same time as someone else and your stall's before the start and finish line, and the person behind you is behind, why should they get a penalty and you don't?
That's just the quirk of the start-finish line being on the pit road.
But it's not fair, is it, when both drivers have gone in for the same time for the same penalty, potentially?
Well, if you're smart enough to know that and be the last person to join the server so that your stall is behind the start-finish line as opposed to in front of it, then you haven't broken any rules, but you've laid it out to your best advantage.
Yeah, I understand that, but still, I think it's I think to me, because the game knows when you're pitting in, it says in, so it knows that you've entered the pits to carry out your pit stop or your penalty. So I think if it started pulling fast ones like that, in essence, you've got 3 laps when you start the start-finish line to comply with the penalty. And as soon as you start entering the penalty, as long as you fulfil your pit stop requirement, I think you're all right. I don't think it's anything to do with start-finish line. That said, obviously, that was Andrea was very late then. Nearly straight into the back of Lars.
And Lars Egon is battling very heavily now. Yep. They are very close to each other.
And another battle that's close is David Gerrard. I said he'd go after Derek Bird, and he has. So Hugh made a little mistake there. Yeah, he's going really, really quick now. So we're just starting to see the pit stops are coming up now. Actually, we've got 2 minutes to go to the pit stops, and it'd be interesting to see, does anybody go early? So history's shown the quick drivers at the front go late. They don't jump into the pits early. They go late. So I pitted early yesterday. Why did I pit early? Because I was battling with Mark Christopher, and I thought to myself, there's no point in battling and having an incident. I'm going to go in the pits and put that gap between us, knowing full well at some point he was going to pit. So that's why I pitted early. Mark Stevens has gone wide. He spun a little bit coming out the corner, but he's going again. So just keep an eye on that, because David Noble's managed to pass him there. Keep an eye on this battle a little bit. So I'm going to go back to Carlo, because Carlo is now right on the rear of Peter. He's really gained on Peter. In fact, you can see all 3 of them there really going for it. So go back to the chat. So Nikos Don is commentating, as is Kenneth. So we've got a couple of guys in the room. Mark Christ is just saying, on behalf of PWS and the PWS team, we think you have the best series and community out there. And Darren, the owner of PWS, obviously has said that. So just want to say thanks to Darren there, because obviously he's the guy who approached us and said, I want to do something. And we said, well, we can sponsor ACCTV, and he's done that. So that's PWS Clean Equipment, preciouswashers.co.uk. We've no problems in mentioning that as part of the stream, because it's people like that who allow us to carry on doing what we're doing, and that's what eSeniors is all about. It's getting that name out there, and we'll do that by whatever means. So a big shout out to them for that. Yeah, he can't race either, so it's a bit of a shame, because he can race Mondays. So Melvin's saying, is the races you couldn't race count as drop races? So Melvin, if you started racing on week 1 and then you took 4 weeks off, you could throw them 4 weeks. No problem at all because you raced at week 1. Okay, but it does mean that if you've had a couple of poor results later on, because you wasn't able to race in them 4 weeks, you can't turn around and say, well, I couldn't race in them weeks, they're not counting. You know, it's ultimately going to be what's going to be your 4th. Oh, bit of an incident
Tony
there.
Whitten just spun. Yeah, Tony Whitten just spun. Same thing, hitting the sausage curbs in the chicane.
Yeah, John Saunders has spun out as well. So let's just see what's happened with John Saunders. He's coming around the corner here. So far, so good. That chicane's catching a few people out, isn't it?
I said Tony Whitten. Not bad. It was
It's John Saunders.
dark blue Ferrari, not a black Ferrari. It was John Saunders.
Oh, yeah, he tried to do the Laszlo. I'm gonna call that the Laszlo from now on. And we've had Hugh Morris has had contact, I think, with Tony Whitten. They were very close, and there's been a change. Millar's Andrea's pitting. So where's me saying who's going early, who's going late? Andrea's gone for the early stop, so we're going to have to keep an eye on this just to see where this all pans out towards the end. That means obviously Nelson's now managed to get
very early stop. They just opened.
Yeah. So maybe he had a low fuel load deliberately to keep him up there, and his plan is to go long in the second stint.
I was wondering if anybody was going to try that, go with a real light fuel load to start when you're in all the traffic, and then go with a heavy fuel load and a long run in the race.
Now, interestingly, we've got a few cars going in here. Now, I noticed Derek's behind Merch. What will be interesting here is, do any of these guys gain on the stop? You know, because I think I gained on Peter yesterday 2 seconds. And I just I'd worked out where to hit the brakes, and I stopped, got it all done. And I was literally 2 seconds, and I come out just behind Peter. So I think there's a possibility Derek could get Merch here. So I'm just going to keep this on a little bit just to see what happens. Tony Whitten's got a battle going on, so we'll keep on that. But I'm going to go back to the pits at some point and just keep an eye on what's happening in the pits. So Andrea's leaving.
It could look like that Kaiola couldn't pass Eklund. He was trying a lot, and perhaps he could gain by going to the pit before Lars and then come out.
Yeah.
Hopefully he could get past him.
So he's made a tactical pit stop.
It could look like that.
Yeah.
It's good, yeah. If he feels he's stronger, has a stronger pace, then that's a good call to do. If you're stuck behind somebody and can't get around them,
and there you go.
In the pits.
Car 701.
Out fast laps.
Car 701. Derek Bird speeding in the pit lane. So Derek Bird's now got an SG30 in the pit lane. So unfortunately, he's going to have to pit. He's going to have to pit again. Now he didn't look like he was coming out the pits slow, and he looked like he didn't go into the pits. Sorry, he was coming out the pit slow and went in the pit slow. So I presume he's hit his limiter at some point, and it's just took him over the edge. Now Eric's just gone off. Eric's on that same corner again.
Oh no!
He's just getting going again. Luckily, he's not been involved in it. Oh, big incident.
Yeah, Hugh and Tony just got
Let's have
together.
a quick look at that.
And Tony's waiting on Hugh. There they go.
Oh yeah, they just hit coming out. Oh, tried to correct it there. Yeah,
he tried to hit him and then hit him back straight like I did Nico on Friday, but didn't do it.
Ooh, right, so I mean, the downside to that is they're going to be they're not forced to repair damage, but if they don't switch it off, that could cost them more than a typical pit stop.
And it could cost them on their fuel mileage as well too.
Yes,
cause them to come up short on fuel.
Yeah, if the car's got more drag on it, you use more fuel, and the physics in the game are that good, to be fair.
Yep.
If anybody's not liked the stream, there's 36 concurrent viewers. I think that actually could be a record. There's only 17 likes. Come on, please, click on them like buttons, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. And we televise most of the races, with the exception of the Monday, Tuesdays. Sorry, the Tuesdays we try to as well, but it's the Mondays we don't tend to. So there's always something to watch, as I said, with the exclusion of a Monday. Quickly back to the chat. I wonder how many. I'm just trying to walk back where I was previously. Yeah, they're all talking about the tyre pressures. Luke's on auto. Oh, hi, Robert. Hi, Luke. Hi, Mark. congratulations, Mark, on your racing over the 24 hours. I must say you did the eSeniors proud, and fully deserve the accolades that the group have shown towards yourself and the fellow drivers of Reese, obviously Carlo and Peter. Absolutely fantastic performance. I watched when I could, and obviously I was in the chat as well whenever I could. Oh, hi, Darren. So I mentioned Darren from PWS before, and just as I log on, there's a shout out. Epic. Cheers, thanks for that, Darren. Perfect timing. Peter and Carlo, yes, yeah. I was surprised to see them both in. So we can see there. Sorry, got to John Saunders. So John Saunders is gaining on Jonathan Wood. We've got a couple of cars pitting now. Obviously, I'm reading the chat, and I'm not gifted with multiple sets of eyes, unfortunately, so I've got to try and focus on one thing at a time. Yeah, Kevin was saying he got 2 drive-throughs and did not pit. And last one got disqualified. Andy Goddard. Oh, hi, Andy. So Melvin's saying if you've missed one race, then you drop 5 races. So Melvin, if you only started racing on week 2, that's when you joined eSeniors on week 2, and that was your first race week. You can only drop 4 races. Whoa, that was a bit of an easy overtake there.
I think he just slowed down and let them go, because Johnny was all over him.
All right, so the lapping in
the pits.
Yeah, the lapping.
Yep.
Blue flags. Okay, so yeah, obviously pits have come into play there in relation to that. It just seemed that he was really going slow, but I can see why he was doing that now. He's letting them 2 battle. So we got Jonathan and John, the 2 Johns having a go here.
I know David had he spun, had damage, and probably needed to pit early for obvious reasons. But that's also another good reason to stay out late, is because if you pit early, you could drop, depending upon where you're running and how fast the leaders are now. You can be dropping back far enough that you're getting blue flags during the course of the pit stops, as opposed to being the driver who stays out and pits late and gets blue flags waved at cars in front of them. So big difference there.
I've just homed in on Merch here. Merch has pitted already, and he's had to go in the pits again. Now, I've not seen him get a stop and go, and he stopped at his pit box, which makes me think, has he fueled the car and he's forgot to fuel? So was his change valid? Interesting.
I didn't catch him when he went back in, but to see if there was still a 1 next to his name, but he must have pitted and not taken on tires or fuel the first time.
So that's put him right at the back now. He's going to struggle coming through that field, because there's a number of drivers pitting now. We're starting to see the pit count go up as people are getting halfway through the race. They're getting the pit sorted. So back to
we got Bourne, Bywater, and Noble have all pitted this time by.
Yeah, so Chris is going for it now, because Chris is coming out the pits, Chris Bourne. So you can see Chris is just coming out the pits. If we can just get onto Chris's car. So he's going for it. Think about this pit lane. You can half fly down there. You can absolutely tonk it through that pit lane, as long as you put the anchors on to get through the corner. It's a great pit lane, that. But Tony Whitten's putting pressure on Hugh here.
They're all over each other.
So we've already seen a bit of contact, but these 2 guys in the Ferraris are really pushing each other.
A little Ferrari on Ferrari crime here.
Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be a light blue Ferrari or a dark bluey purple Ferrari, but I think it's he eased off there. Tony, you could see he could have gone for the dive, but he eased off. I think the pit stop's going to sort this race out.
Mm-hmm.
Who gets in the pits first? Now, the fact that they've both had contact will imply they've both got damage.
They both pitted together.
Oh, they both pitted already?
Out. Yeah, they both went in the pits together and both followed each other out of the pits, and they're right on each other again.
Right, yeah, I've just seen that. You're absolutely spot on. I can see the green next to the names as opposed to the orange. Spot on.
Yeah.
So,
Bourne and Eglon is right after each other too.
Who's that, sorry?
I'm sorry?
Chris Bourne and Lars is after each other now. They have both pitted, and let's see when Eglon is going in.
Yeah.
If Kayola have got any advantage of going in early.
I think Kayola's the one to watch, isn't he? Because he come in early. But I
Yeah.
also think Chris Bourne is looking really racy at the moment.
Well, Chris Bourne stayed ahead of Andrea during the course of the pit stops. He's still 2 seconds ahead of him.
Yeah, I mean, Carlo's the fastest on track at the moment. He's got the lap record. He's currently got the fastest lap, and obviously he's already pitted. So Peter's now gone into the pits. So let's see where this all comes out. Oh, Jonathan Wood's off. Oh, he's coming out the pits. It showed him as going off the yellow flags. So Lars is now leading, but we know that Peter's gone into the pits means that it's a false lead at the moment. But that said,
yeah,
you get stop and go. So PWS car, David Gerrard's now running well. He's obviously got up to speed, got up to tyres, and he's going for the run now. It does get a bit lonely when you're by yourself, though. It does make it rather hard to concentrate when you don't know who you're racing with, you know, your performance-wise. So get your head down and concentrate.
If you look at Chris Bourne and Carlo and Caiola, it looks like Carlo did drop some seconds, according to Chris Bourne, after the pit stops, because Carlo is after Chris Bourne at the moment now.
Yeah, so you're spot on. So I actually have the lap time, the pit stop times here in front of me. So just to explain the pit stop times, Chris Bourne's stationary pit stop was a 32.2, and his entrance and leaving was a 43.4. Carlo's was a 34.8 and a 45.9. So you can see there, Carlo was a couple of seconds slower. Now, Andrea was very close. Oh no, Andrea, they're moving around the screen actually. So Andrea wasn't as quick as Chris Bourne either. So Chris Bourne's nailed the pit stops basically. He's gained on them all. He's flying over the curbs there. So Peter's managed to get out.
John Saunders has beaten Johnny Wood out of the pits just barely. I mean, he's cold tires and he's directly in front of him.
Yeah,
and Johnny is applying all the pressure.
You can see he's weaving all over the place there. that big ugly BMW grille is all you can see in his mirrors. I'll tell you, I think I'd get out of the way of that as well. What an ugly looking car. I know there's big BMW fans out there, but I'm sorry, that thing at the front is just not a pretty thing to look at.
John was behind John prior to the pit stop. Yep. So he has done the overcut and has jumped John.
I will say though, just watching them go through chicane there, Jonathan's taking much more caution with his tyres than John Saunders.
Yep.
Because he's not riding the curbs and yet he's not losing the time. So this could come back and bite John Saunders if he gets a bad drive into the curbs, or of course gets a pressure loss. But Chris Bourne,
he could have already messed his tires up.
Yeah, and the new tyres as well, don't forget, because these guys have already pitted. So interestingly enough, Chris Bourne has gained half a second on Peter since the pit stop. So Chris Bourne's really got his head down. You can see now in the straight behind, Carlo's there and Andrea's just there behind them. So there's a lot still riding on a race here. I do think one mistake could change this whole race over. Now we know Lars is up front. Oh, Chris Baker's just gone wide. David Gerrard is now gaining places as a result of pit stops, as is David Noble. So Dimitri and Krista are both going down the grid now as a result of their pit stops. Peter de Jong's struggling a little bit. He seems to be going off track quite a lot at the moment. And the battle of Jonathan Wood and Saunders is still going on. But Chris Bourne is down to 1.8 seconds behind Peter. So he's absolutely flying at the moment. So is Peter's tyre still coming up to pace? And we'll see Peter start to pull away again. Or has Chris Bourne just got his tyre set up for the second stint? Just that little bit better. Because as we know, Peter's been practicing for the endurance race, I should imagine. So hasn't had much track time at Zolder.
Chris seems to be catching him.
He does, definitely. It's 1.8. It has stabilised. But I think Chris has been gaining through the middle section of the track on this back end. Well, let's see
if Lars goes into the pits this time.
Yeah, he's got 5 minutes.
Looks like it.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah, that's it. Lars has gone in.
He just entered the pits.
I've got the indicator against Lars. No, Peter's.
Yeah, he was the last one to go in, so everybody should have pitted by now.
Yeah, Peter's now half a second quicker than his last lap. So I think he was waiting for his tyres to come in. He's now 8/10 up, Peter, from his last lap, and Chris now is just starting to lose a bit of ground on him. So you can see now there's the gap. So Peter's doing his last lap was a 1:30.5, and he's 1 second up. He's going to be doing a 1:29.5 at this rate. Now I'm just looking at the other timers around. There's nowhere near him. The 1:29.5 is absolutely flying. In fact, he's on a 1:29.2 at the moment. That will be the not fastest lap. It won't be far off the fastest lap, but he's really putting it together.
Through the chicane, you could see Chris Bourne and Carlo driving very aggressive over them.
Yeah,
trying to catch up.
You can see the gap in front.
Perhaps it could be an effect later on.
Yeah, so Peter's just done a 1:29.2. Chris Bourne's just done a 1:29.4. A 1:29.2. Chris has just done a 1:29.6. So Peter was 4/10 quicker than Chris Bourne in that lap alone. Another man on a mission at the moment, I know he's still trying to catch cars up, is Neil Bywater. He's just done not far off his fastest lap, actually. So he's got his tyres running well on the second stint also. Now I'm showing every driver is pitted. I can't confirm whether that's correct or not, but I am showing every driver is pitted. I have got an anomaly showing against Eric. So I don't think the pit stop time for Eric was actually correct, because it's showing him as actually pitting quicker. As in coming out and going into the pits in a negative time. So to me, that just doesn't make sense at all. So God knows what's happened there.
Andreas not only jumped Lars by the undercut, but he has gapped him by 5 seconds.
Yeah, I can see that now. So he's 5.6 seconds clear. But he is 4 seconds ahead. Behind Carlo, though. So he's got a lot to do there. Go back to the chat. Melvin, I'll speak to you about the racing stuff afterwards, rather than try and do it in the chat. Let's have a look. Yeah, Nelson, you're right, Craig. Nelson, I did mention Nelson actually in his team earlier on. Hi, Maverick. Hi, Petri. Hi, Andreas. God, loads of guys have joined. Andy Goddard. Nico, they are lovely from the back. These are BMWs. And that is the only view I see of them.
Craig is asking what happened to Nelson. Can you see anything on your screens?
Nelson's gone. Oh, no, he's not. He's there.
No, he's there. He's down at 12th now.
He's 12th, yeah.
He had, I think, the only thing I can explain with Nelson, I'm just looking at his lap time. His lap time was 30 seconds more than everybody else. Did he have damage? Has he had contact with something that we've not seen? Because he's showing us 70 seconds, which is double anybody else, on top of his 45 seconds. So he's 30 seconds more than everybody else. I don't know what's happened with Nelson there. That's really put him on the back foot.
Has picked up a drive through.
So he's gone off the curbs. So he's been taking the curbs. Yeah. So he's been riding the curbs.
Right, Mark Stevens is pitting for his drive through, so he's going to drop some places.
Yeah. So I think that's the curbs. You know, the chicane. I think they've been stealing too much in the chicane, and the gain's taking it off them. And that's the thing with this. You know, steal the chicane, try and steal that time. The gain will just take it back off you. And that's exactly what's happened there. Going to jump back to Carlo, because Carlo's now getting really racy with Chris Bourne. So Chris Bourne's now 3.8 seconds behind. Carlo's 3.8 seconds behind Peter, and Carlo's 0.8 seconds behind Chris, and we can see the gap. Now I've just seen Derek go off there at the back, and there's been incident with Hugh Morris as well.
And Mark Stevens cleared his drive-through and picked up a stop and go.
That's devastating, isn't it, when that happens?
Oh, that's brutal. That is just brutal.
Again, speed in the pit lane. It's easy to do. It's that eagerness to change the gear, though, isn't it? You sit there thinking, I'm going to go. Yeah. Oh, then you've made the mistake. Yeah, Hugh Morris is still struggling.
Stefan is asking, how did Baywater go ahead from Saunders?
I'm not sure. John Saunders and Jonathan Wood were, Neil pitted early. The only thing I can think of is that he did the same thing as Carlo with the undercut, and he got in the pits early and got some fresh track and was running really good times out there all by himself. Meanwhile, John Saunders and Wood were battling and slowing each other down, and he was able to get by that way.
That's how I saw it. Yeah, they were actually, you know, when you're racing against each other, you're not focusing on the car behind, therefore you slow down. And there's been a change.
Mm-hmm.
Carlos took Chris.
No.
Let's just have a quick look at what went on there.
Yep.
So Carlo's got a good run here. Now Krista's in front, and Krista made a mistake. So Krista's moved over. Okay, so he didn't make a mistake. He moved over. Like the So far, so good here. There's no issue. The question is, did Chris get his braking point wrong? You can see Carlo's much quicker there. Now Chris is letting him go, isn't he? Chris is letting him go.
Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah, he's not fighting him. Yeah, there could be something in that because Carlo, I think, let Chris go on one of the midweek races. And I think Hugh Morris has quit to the pits. That was annoying. I've just seen him say in the pits. Hi, Hugh.
Oh, yeah, you see he left the pits when the tires were at 23 PSI, so something was wrong.
Oh, yeah. So that's where you've got that little tick box. Set all tyres the same. If you don't tick that, it'll be the default settings for the tyres, which will be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
So Nelson managed to pass David Noble.
Use current pressures.
Sorry, what was that, Dom?
I was like, yeah, use current pressures, that little box.
That's the one. That's the one. And you're set up for the rest of the race then. But if you don't tick that, you get some really bizarre pressures on your tyres. And I reckon that's what's happened there.
You just go grab a random set out behind the building and throw them on.
Yeah.
Don't warm them up or nothing.
Respawn is running faster again.
Yeah. I think he'll just sit there with Carlo. He's not going to race Carlo. As I said, I don't think he's... I think Carlo let Chris pass in the past. Although Carlo's looking very fast there, to be honest. That gap's opened up quite a lot, so maybe Chris knows he was much quicker. There's no action on track, so what I'm going to do is a quick rundown of the current cars. I'm going to go to the TV camera. I'm Peter Woolslader. So Peter's currently 4.8 seconds clear of second place Carlo Van Brabant. So you'll see Carlo come around the corner in the back there. And Carlo is 1.5 seconds ahead of Chris Bourne. As we saw, he took Chris Bourne on the previous 2 laps. Chris Bourne is 5.9 seconds ahead of Andrea Caiola. You can see Chris is just taking it easy through there. Andrea is 5.3 seconds ahead of... Whoa! Andrea launched it then. Really took off. Now that could damage the car. So Andrea's 5 seconds ahead of Lars.
Right there.
Lars is 12.4 seconds ahead of Neil Bywater. Now, interestingly, Lars has gained on Andrea there. So, as Andrea just had a bit of a problem when he hit that curb. Neil Bywater is 3.3 seconds ahead of John Saunders. I think we might see John Saunders catch up again unless he's got a problem with his car. He stole a curb because we did see him steal a curb, didn't we, before? Quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's the issue. This tyres have caused him a problem. John Saunders is 3.6 seconds ahead of Jonathan Wood. So he's pulled away from Jonathan Wood, actually. Jonathan Wood is 13 seconds ahead of Chris Baker. So Jonathan Wood, the only BMW representative on track today. Chris Baker is 8.6 seconds ahead of David Gerrard. David Gerrard, using the PWS Aston Martin. PWS PreciousWashers.co.uk for our ACC TV sponsors, PWS Cleaning Equipment. So he's 3 seconds ahead of Nelson. Nelson's flying. He passed David Noble before and he's already made a 4.3 second gap. I think we're going to see Nelson racing David Gerrard very, very shortly. He's really got the bit between his teeth. So that is a series of 3 Aston Martins running together there. David Noble is 12 seconds ahead of Eric. Now, as we know, Eric has spun in the Lexus a couple of times in the same corner. So he's probably lost a good 20 seconds in them spins. He could have been much further up the grid, I feel. As a result of that, he's 5.6 seconds ahead of Dimitri Stathis in the AMG, and I think you've pointed out he's changed his car. So obviously I'll know that from the timing sheets I've got of all the cars and drivers. He's 6 seconds ahead of Tony Whitten.
He's doing good in the AMG. He started dead last, so he's made it through about a third of the field.
Well, keep it clean, let others drive off. That's what it's all about sometimes. So Tony Whitten's 21 seconds ahead of Krista. Krista's had a bit of a problem. I don't know if Krista's got car damage. His car is looking battered and bruised at the front. and whether that's just causing him aerodynamic issues because he's getting lapped quite easily now. He's 7 seconds ahead of Peter in the pink Porsche. And Peter is 9.2 seconds ahead of Derek. As we know, Derek had a stop and go from the pits. And Mersh Paunov, who's had a couple of stop and goes or a couple of entrances to the pits, is
he's
the driver
at least twice.
Who's running in last place. As we know, Hugh has retired. He's in the pits, but he has retired. So that's where we are. Let's go back to Chris Bourne. Go on, Dom.
Yeah, he's gaining again on Carlo.
Yeah, I think he's gaining, but I don't think he's going to race.
No.
I will say, though, I think this is where the next battle is. Saunders seems to have got to grips again now, and he's starting to put pressure on Neil.
Pulling away from Andreas.
Yeah, he's starting to put a bit of pressure on Neil Bywater. I'm just keeping an eye on this time. It's down to 1.3 seconds now, and I think at the end of this lap, I think we'll see John Saunders right on the bumper of Neil Bywater.
Looks like Andreas slowed down. He had a 5-second gap ahead of him and behind him, and he has dropped back in that gap. He's closer to Lars now.
Whoa, and
further.
Saunders has gone off.
Whoa!
Saunders has spun
That
it.
was the last chicane, right? Yep.
Yeah. So
John got back by him.
The Klein chicane, he's lost it on. So I mentioned before when I think Andrea went through that chicane, he bounced the car, and Lars was gaining on him. Lars has took another second out of him. So I'm wondering whether Andrea's got a problem with his car there, because Lars is catching him.
He might be running around on a couple of 26 PSI tires after mangling those curbs like that.
That'll get a bit slippy, won't it? Shall we say?
Yeah.
So interesting.
So he's dropped back a couple seconds from Chris, and Lars seems to be running about the same speed that Chris Bourne is, and Andrea's dropping back in that little window between the two of them.
Well, just to
getting closer and closer to Lars.
Just to give you a lap time comparison of the last laps. The last laps, Peter Wolfslader 129.8, Carlo a 129.4, Chris a 129.8, Andrea a 130.1, Lars a 129.7. There's a standout time there, isn't there?
Yeah. One of these things is not like the other.
Yeah, and Lars is continuing to gain. I'm going to sit with Lars a little bit here, because Lars is definitely pulling time out of Andrea. And I think we might see a battle within 12 minutes between... He's now down to under 3 seconds, 3 seconds-ish. He's definitely going faster now in that McLaren. Quickly back to the chat.
Well, you could say that Nemeth did the finest flying curb laps yesterday. But Kaiola also did a very hard bump there.
Yeah, so Kaiola's, I think, riding that curb quite a lot. So Craig's being a bit cheeky there in the chat. Perhaps he accidentally changed his brakes. So just to elaborate on what Craig's referring to there, on in the endurance race, the team that Nelson was racing with, one of the guys, when he went into the pits, he clicked the wrong button and he enforced a brake change on the car, which obviously meant his pit stop went from what should have been a default to an astronomical number. They actually believe that cost them second place in the endurance race. So that was Craig being a little bit cheeky there, Craig. You know, so that's the story. That's the reason behind it. No, I don't think it is Andy. Andy Goddard's just said it's 30 seconds. I think it's longer than that, Andy. David Blythe's joined us. Hi, David. So Hugh Morris has not ticked that box. He didn't tick the box that we talked about Don before. Remember the last settings. So Lars is now 2 seconds. Yes. Neil Bywater's off. So this means Jonathan Wood's going to gain. There you go. And Saunders. So Saunders has made it past now after his little excursion. It's catching them all out, isn't it?
It's that same chicane. Everybody's doing the same slide.
Yeah, it's catching them out as they try and ride the curb. So Lars is now going to... He's 2 seconds behind. And David Gerard's off. And guess where he's off? The same chicane.
Spot. Yep.
It's like there's a gremlin sat at the side of the road. My turn. That's allowed Nelson to move further up now as well. So I said Nelson was gaining. He was. But he's been gifted that position now.
Yeah. Well, it'd be interesting to see what Lars does if he's able to catch Andreas, because he's obviously faster, but I've been watching him, and he has been abusing the curbs himself.
He has, but look at the gap. 1.5 seconds it's down to now.
But it's not going to do him any good if he gets there and doesn't have any tires to do anything with.
Well, there is that, but he's jumping the first chicane, whereas Andreas jumping the second part of the chicane. So I'm not too sure whether there's anything in the momentum and how you hit the curbs there.
That seems to be the ongoing Saunders Wood John on John war here has been going on all day, and they seem to be stuck to one another. Can't get away from one another. But that and the Andrea and Lars battle are about the only two battles going on right now.
Yeah, there's not much going on, is there really? I think the gaps on the track, you can see that I've got the track map top right, to the right of the screen. It's very, very spread out, and it's there's no immediate battles on track. I think in the other races it did quieten down, but you still had one or two little battles to go to throughout the track. You had one at the front, one at the middle, and one at the back. This seems to be just a section of 3 cars in the middle here. You've got Lars, Jonathan, and John Saunders, because John Saunders is now really there with Jonathan Wood.
Yeah, he's all over John. If he hadn't spun out two times I can think of, he'd be so much further up the field.
I absolutely agree with that. He's made a mistake on that same chicane twice now, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I think coming over the curb. But I was going to say, good run for Jonathan Wood. This, bearing in mind he's been struggling a little bit. I'm just going to go back forward now because Lars is right with Andrea, so he's got the gap now down to under a second, and he's really putting pressure on Andrea. It'll be interesting to see where this all pans out. John Saunders is very close to Jonathan Wood, but obviously they're 25 seconds down the road behind these two. Quickly look at back in the chat. Yeah, Hugh's making a comment about the Ferrari. The Ferrari, I think, Hugh, I did the Ferrari a couple of seasons ago, I think, or last season. It was one of the cars I didn't like over the chicane, over the curbs. It just didn't like the curbs at all. And no matter what you did to it, it just didn't seem to like them. So you had to usually drive that little bit further and that little bit wider to get it over, to get around the curbs. Yep. And that always costs you time. And you've got the Bentley goes over a curb and says, well, was that a stone under me or something? It doesn't even feel them. And to be fair, the Aston's pretty good here as well in relation to the curves, and the Lexus. Now, the McLaren surprised me because the McLaren's quite a low-running car, isn't it, the McLaren?
But if all the cars are experiencing the pressure loss and the possibility of punctures, aren't to some extent all drivers going to have to start to drive the way the Ferrari drivers have been driving to avoid those type of curbs?
That's a perfectly good observation. The problem is, though, they're too far behind the Ferrari drivers. Yeah. So I think this is the first Ferrari into it of John Saunders. So the first Ferrari's in 7th place, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So Tony Whitten's just gone off. So where's Tony Whitten? He's made a mistake. He's getting going again. So Ferrari driver, he's just made a mistake there.
Is it possible for you guys to look at the tire pressure on the cars?
No, I can't. We can't really do that. Even if I put the hood on, the hood doesn't show you the tire information. So I put the hood on there, so I can see the inputs. And interestingly, the brake bias on that Ferrari is 55. So he's really not wanting the front tires to burn up at all. So he's not putting much pressure on the front tires at all. Or he's using the back tires more.
That's about where because I run the Ferrari and I had mine I think at 54.
Yeah,
that's about right where I had mine at.
So we go to Jonathan Wood. What's his bias looking like? He's at 58.1. So obviously the bias is all around managing your tyres. Lars Eklund. So Lars Eklund's got his at 54. So they're all running. But what I'd say is quite balanced bias there on the brakes themselves. But Lars is really keeping up with Andrea now.
Well, the front engine cars and mid engine cars are going to be a little different as far as the sweet spot as well too.
It is,
on that.
If you look at the cars, how they take the curves, Chris Bourne is taking them very aggressively, and he's still running fast. About 1:29.5 a lap time on the Lexus, so it doesn't seem like the Lexus is very much affected on riding the curbs.
Yeah, so the current fastest lap times, as we know, Peter's got the fastest lap with a 1:28.9. I'll just repeat that. A 1:28.9. He's the only driver who's done a 1:28 in race trim.
Yeah. Race trim.
In race trim, yeah. So Carlo's done his fastest is his last lap was a 1:29.2. Chris's was a 1:29.8, and Andrea's was a 1:30.3. Lars was a 1:30.4. So now Lars is off. Lars took the shortcut. He wanted to go across the sand, but it's not cost him actually. It's not cost him too much. It's only cost him less than a second. The problem is there, how much tyre damage has he done? Now got Chris Bourne showing us white. Why is he showing us white? Is that because he had to pass? I think that might be because he's passed Derek, and he had to take an offline run to pass Eric. But John Saunders is still
slowed down a little bit.
Yeah, so John Saunders is still sat behind Jonathan Wood here. So I think these two are either not very racing, or John Saunders realising he's just too quick, Jonathan Wood. In fact, their lap times are unbelievable. So Jonathan Wood's last lap was a 1:30.6. John Saunders' last lap was a 1:30.6. So, yeah, so sort the bits out of that one. They're just very, very close. Lars is basically a second down on everybody. He's got to have car damage. There's got to be something wrong. He's a second down. He's out the top. So the top 8 drivers, none of them are running 131s. Lars is consistently running the 131s. That, to me, is indicative of tyre pressure problems.
Yeah.
So I think he slowed down. I wonder when he went off before. He's had a tyre problem. Let's see how this lap is. It may be just because that was his previous lap where he went off. He's stopped gaining Andrea. Now, does that mean he's got a problem? Oh, there's been an off. Saunders is off.
Again?
Ooh.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, the front of that Ferrari starts to look very hurt.
He had gotten by Jonathan Wood somehow.
Yeah.
But he got back by and also lost a spot to Neil now.
He has indeed. So that's cost John Saunders 2 places, that really.
And he's going in the pits. It's going to cost him a whole bunch more.
Yeah, the front of his Ferrari's looking... I mean, look at that. In fact, the side of his Ferrari, he's definitely hit more than one thing there. Because that Ferrari's looking... Now, did he stop in time there? He seems to be very late on the brakes. Not going to get in stop or go, is he?
Oh, man, I hope not.
So Lars is running again now.
It looked like he stopped at the second line, not the 50-mile-an-hour line.
So could be right. He could be getting a stop and go here. Oh dear. It's so important to... Does anybody ever practice a pit stop going in and coming out? I do it once or twice, and I do it for 2 reasons. I learn where to brake for the entrance, and I learn where to brake for my pit box. So I can go at full throttle and then just slam the anchors on and get through it. Now, I should imagine some don't practice, because you do see some of them overshoot and having to reverse or just going in there too fast. So I think it'd be interesting to see what happens with John Saunders there. Where he calls it a day.
Lars is closing up on Caiola now.
He is. He's 1 second. So Lars has got... I think when that time for Lars was 1:31, it must have been when he went off track and he was getting his tyres going again. He's running well again now, Lars. He's back into the 130s. He's the 3rd fastest on track, actually, as we speak.
Perhaps Chris has having problem with his tires, because he did 133 and then 131.
Yeah.
Wow.
Chris looks like he's struggling, actually. He's into the 131s now as well.
Yeah.
Lars is really gaining.
He's got really low tire pressures, because he's dropped way back off the top 2.
So John Saunders is getting a lot of
Must
damage.
be something in the
Whoa!
front.
Andrea then, he absolutely launched it.
Once again.
Absolutely launched it. He's obviously getting put under pressure, isn't he? I'm going to change this to the helicam view so we can see the view from the top. The stealing curb. A lot of curb.
Less than a minute to go. I guess they figure they don't need to hang on to these tires for anything. Go ahead and abuse them.
That's a good point. So, any options for driver of the day? I think it's pretty much nailed on, innit? The guy at the front.
I think so.
Give it all you
Another just flawless day at the track for Peter.
Yeah, not only is he did he run well in the endurance race with all the other fantastic racers, but again he's just done a fantastic job. Even after all that racing, he had the ability to come back on track and race again as good as everybody else. So,
do we have any votings on the tracks?
No, there's no one saying anything, but yeah, Peter. Oh,
yeah.
We've got a new person, Maximilian Grossguess. Peter Noble must be worth a shout as well. Yeah, Peter.
I'll throw this out. You can do a multiple driver of the day and make it Peter, Carlo, and Nelson for even driving in this race after competing in a endurance race over the last day.
You've got a point, Rich.
Yeah, that's uber impressive.
It takes me long enough to do driver of the day. It's hard enough putting 2 drivers on there, let alone a whole raft of them. So yeah, I'll hang fire on that one. I'm just trying to find my driver of the day because that's gone west. There we go. I've got my driver of the day set up, so we'll go on board with Peter. We'll see him over the finish line. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, procession! Procession! Oh, it's a procession.
Yep.
Hey?
It looks like Peter's going to let Carlo get the win.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
Absolutely fantastic. So, drive of the day, Peter Wolfslayer. And
well done. Yeah.
And letting Carlo go at the end then as well. Absolutely fantastic. Jonathan Wood, big shout out to him for having a go in the BMW. I think
absolutely.
He's realising.
Drive.
But I will say it didn't look as quick as it did yesterday. So I'm wondering whether they've already done something to the balance of performance on it. It'll be interesting to see how that starts.
It'll be interesting to talk to Jonathan after this race is over and see what his thoughts are on. Because seems like there's been a patch every day since the big update dropped on Wednesday.
Well, there's been 2 patches, aren't there? Quite regularly.
Yeah, there was one today. There's another patch today.
Yeah.
So
because I know they announced that for the
third one.
For the endurance race, that they say no one, if anybody comes back in, make sure they don't upload the latest version because they won't be able to race.
Oh wow! Yeah,
so Nelson, another one who did the endurance race. Then Chris Baker. Chris Baker's had a clean race, and Merch has done well. Merch has been lapped. David Gerard in the PWS Aston Martin coming over the line there. David Noble in the green Aston Martin, and Nelson's had contact.
Who started dead last, and close to dead last. He was right in front of.
So the biggest gainer.
Mr. Stathis, yeah.
We had 3 of them. Noble, Daunt and Stathis all gained 8 positions. The biggest loser was John Saunders with 11 positions as a result of his pit stop at the end. So just want to say thank you to Don and thank you to Kenneth for joining me. Thanks very much. Really
thank
appreciate
you for having us.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thanks to everyone in the stream for giving us fantastic numbers. Some really good viewing numbers there. I think actually we may have hit a record for the eSeniors. So just want to thank you all. Please ensure you click the like button before you go and
smash that bell.
Smash that bell, and we'll see you again soon. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.
See you.